Friends, hello. Today we have a short excursion through the streets of the suburbs of Turkish Alanya. We will walk and bike around the city of Mahmutlar, a city that over many years of tourist geography has become almost entirely Russian. But at the same time it remains completely Turkish. It's just that a lot of real estate here is purchased by Slavs from the countries of the former USSR. And you can see how this city lives and compare the infrastructure with your own cities. The Mahmutlar district is located 8 kilometers from the central part of Alanya, surrounded by mountains and pine forests. Mahmutlar is very popular among Russian tourists. Here you can hear familiar speech everywhere and see many signs in Russian. The main advantage of this place is its favorable location surrounded by mountains and pine forests. The signs are in Russian, Russian speech is everywhere. It's as if this is Russian Alanya, no less. From the point of view of life, living here is perhaps the most comfortable, especially if you don't know Turkish. Moreover, you can buy an apartment in Mahmutlar very inexpensively. New residential complexes are built here every year, and, importantly, the infrastructure of the area is also actively being built. When is the best time to visit the city? The most comfortable weather for travel is between September and October. During the daytime, the water in the sea is warm, and during the daytime there is no sweltering heat. Lovers of heat and sun can go to Mahmutlar in the summer. However, at this time there is an increase in prices for vouchers. The spring months are great for excursions. Since Mahmutlar is located relatively far from the airport, hotel prices here are lower than in other resorts, which is observed even at the height of the tourist season. Thus, the cost of accommodation in apartments is from €11 per day, and in hotels, on average from €30. Prices for food and souvenirs are moderate and are not much different from prices in Alanya. The coastline of Mahmutlar stretches for 5 kilometers. The beach surface is mostly pebble. The sand has small pebbles. Sometimes loose sand is found. The entrance to the water is sharp, and it can be deep a few meters from the shore. Occasional stone slabs of natural origin can also interfere with comfortable rest. They are often sharp and slippery, which is unsafe in high waves. It is recommended to swim in special shoes. Russian tourists cite low prices, an abundance of greenery, clear emerald-colored seawater, and rapidly developing infrastructure as the advantages of a holiday in Mahmutlar. Tourists agree that this is one of the best resorts in the region, suitable for a classic beach holiday. Mahmutlar has everything for a fulfilling life: restaurants, shops, supermarkets, discos, spa centers, primary and secondary schools, banks, pharmacies, and much more. A significant disadvantage of the resort is its distance from the airport. In addition, some resort hotels are not located on the first line and are separated from the sea by a busy highway passing nearby, which can create inconvenience for tourists with children. The beaches of Mahmutlar are a headache for the Turkish administration, and probably for all the people who come here or live here. The beach is mostly pebble, but sometimes there is sand. It is brought in every year, and every year in winter it is washed away by storms. The beach strip is about 4 kilometers. In some places there are slabs when entering the water, so you will need special shoes, so you have to swim in flip-flops or coral slippers. In some areas of the coast, there are boulders at the entrance to the water, so swimming becomes unsafe when the waves are high. Infrastructure of Mahmutlar. In Mahmutlar, there are 4 primary schools, 2 secondary schools, after-school groups, 3 educational centers, 2 private kindergartens, Turkish and Russian. In the center of Mahmutlar, there is a Russian cultural center. Throughout the city, there are supermarkets and small shops, restaurants and discos, health and beauty salons. The city hosts a market twice a week, on Tuesdays and Saturdays, respectively, in the eastern and western parts of this area. Here you can buy fresh vegetables and fruits. The bazaar also has a clothing section. But it's not really that interesting, because there are good Turkish clothing stores, for example, the Turkish De Facto, or the French Turkish ready-to-wear brand LC Waikiki and others. City streets. There are 3 main streets in Mahmutlar: Ataturk Street, Barbaros Street, and the Central Coastal Street. Antalya Mersin Highway. Public transport passes through these streets every 15 minutes. There are also many streets that intersect vertically with these main streets. Among all the streets, Barbaros Street is considered the busiest, as it houses various offices, banks, the municipality, restaurants, shops, and luxury buildings. The area is located along the sea, and a highway is laid along the sea, and this roadway is called the First Line, Antalya Mersin Highway. The second street, running along the sea, is located about 150 meters from the first line, runs parallel to it, is paved, Barbaros Street, called the Second Line. The third line, Ataturk Street, is located about 300 meters from the second line, but in the east of the city it turns towards the sea and merges with Barbaros Street. Economy of a small city. Mahmutlar lives on tourism and agriculture. One of the leading sectors of the region's economy is real estate. Mahmutlar occupies a leading position in the sale of real estate to foreigners. In terms of the speed of economic and trade development, Mahmutlar ranks first in the Alanya region. Important changes in obtaining a residence permit in Turkey. From July 1, 2022, the areas of Alanya, Kargicak, Mahmutlar, Kestel, and Avsalar were included in the list of prohibited areas for obtaining a primary residence permit, both for renting and purchasing real estate. This is a temporary measure that was adopted due to the fact that the number of foreigners in these areas has exceeded 20% of the total population. The ban applies only to primary residence permits. You can renew your residence permit by rent and tap U. This is a Turkish property document. In the case of renting, it is necessary that the foreigner stays in the same housing. The ban applies to citizens of all countries. The following can obtain a primary residence permit in a closed area: close relatives, husband, wife, minor children, of those who already have a residence permit and newborn children, whose lease agreement was notarized before July 1, 2022. The ban on primary residence permits in closed areas will remain in effect until the number of foreigners in these areas decreases. Now, due to the large number of visitors, difficulties arise with places in educational institutions. Transport and other infrastructure can barely cope. Those who intend to obtain an initial residence permit for rent in a closed area are given 1 month to find housing in another area where the ban does not apply. But let us talk about the history of this place. What is the historicity of Mahmutlar? Mahmutlar is famous for the ruins of the ancient cities of Sidra, Naula, Laertes. In ancient times, the coastal village of Mahmutlar was a port part of the city of Laertes. According to legend, it was founded by Claudius. The main building material was limestone and partly marble. The metropolis of the city is in the south, and the Acropolis is in the southeast. An inscription made in the 7th century BC in Phoenician was discovered at Laertes. Now it is kept in the Alanya Museum. Among the ruins of the city that have survived to this day are observation towers belonging to the Roman period, seats on the agora used for meetings and conversations of citizens, the Street of Emperors, an Odeon and theater, temples built in honor of Zeus, Apollo, and also Caesar, baths, and a necropolis. The city experienced its heyday between the 1st and 3rd centuries AD. The Alanya Museum today houses some of the objects that were discovered by archaeologists in the city and which shed light on its history. Thus, one of the surviving documents from 138 AD, which mentions the name of the governor of Pamphylia, speaks of a certain warrior of Syrian origin who, after 25 years of heroic service, was given Roman citizenship and given the right to marry a woman from Pamphylia. Another city, Nala, existed during Byzantine times. From this era, a theater, a temple, a street with columns, 2 observatory towers, 2 fountains and a pit used to keep wild animals have been preserved here. Local authorities plan to begin restoration work to open the city to tourists. The town of Sidra is located near Mahmutlar in the mountains, offering stunning panoramic views of the surrounding Alanya. In ancient times, it was a large city that supplied water to all surrounding settlements. An ancient system of artificial reservoirs has been preserved here, which is still used by local residents to irrigate fields. As a result of archaeological excavations carried out here by researchers from the Alanya Museum, it turned out that the history of the city begins around the 7th century BC. Sidra existed until the 13th century. The gates that have survived to this day lead into the city. The city is surrounded by fortress walls. From ancient times, there are also underground fresh water storage facilities, the walls of which are covered with plaster. An artificial niche carved into the rock in one of the caves is covered with frescoes. This suggests that the cave was used for religious purposes. On the eastern outskirts of the city there are beautiful ruins of ancient baths. Mosaics have been preserved in some places on the floors of these baths. In the southeast of the city, which occupied a fairly large area, there was a street with columns 20 meters wide and 250 meters long. It is known that the northern part of this street was specially covered with a wooden roof supported by columns to create shade, and the southern part was paved with stone. The inscriptions that have survived to this day are dedicated to various sporting events that took place in the city, which indicates that the city was an important sports center in the region. Other remains of the city include a temple, an amphitheater, an necropolis, an agora, and residential quarters. Now the Alanya Museum houses an inscription which was made on the basis of a letter of gratitude from the Roman Emperor Septimius Severus to the townspeople in 194 AD. In it, the emperor thanks them for their heroic struggle against the robbers and atheists who attacked. I suggest you walk a little more along the streets and look around so that you have a general idea of the city. Listen to the sounds and noise of the streets and townspeople. The city hosts a market twice a week, on Tuesdays and Saturdays, respectively, in the eastern and western parts of this area. Here you can buy fresh vegetables and fruits. The bazaar also has a clothing section. But it's not really that interesting, because there are good Turkish clothing stores, for example, the Turkish De Facto, or the French Turkish ready-to-wear brand LC Waikiki and others.
İşçiliğine para vermiyor ya. Ama işçiliğine de para verirsen yandı.
Bak. Süper bak bunu.
Böyle çöpe atmışlar biliyor musun? Şeyleri akşam salatalık, biber. Geldik biz orada oturuyor. Bunlar dedi bunlar neydi ya? Ne oldu?
Well, with this, we will say goodbye to you. Be sure to rate this video, recommend it to your friends, and forward it to each other. This will help the video rank better in YouTube searches. Well, as always, leave your comments under the video. Be sure to write how you liked or disliked the city and the areas we visited. Don't forget to watch videos from Istanbul, Trabzon, Tbilisi, Batumi, and other videos about Belarus and Russia and other cities in Turkey. And we will definitely see you in new episodes on the channel soon. Be sure to subscribe and give your ratings. See you in new episodes on my channel.
Arasında çok fark var. Çok fark var. Hadi